Hey, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Chardonnay, and today's video is going to be a little bit of a life update as well as just, a casual chat for my creative crew, the folks who enjoy my sewing videos and just the behind the scenes of my content creation process. This video is mainly for you, but I also wanted to share a little bit of a life update just so that way we're all on the same page. I realize there are some folks who solely watch me here on YouTube. There are some folks who come across, me over on Instagram or TikTok, whatever the case may be. But I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So something that happened this year is I recently became a Lowe's creator. I shared that over on Instagram first. And how that came about was I knew that I was going to be doing some home renovations, apartment renovations, upgrades, and, just sharing more of my larger projects that I do randomly. And I wanted to document that and start sharing that more here on this channel. And so before I got started with those projects, I did like a little Google search to see what are some affiliate programs for people like me who are like content creators, people that document stuff. And I came across the Lowe's Creator Program. I applied, I got accepted, and I was like, okay, cool. Now let's start sharing some of my projects and things that I'm working on. And in that process, I randomly stumbled across this video. I thought this was just like a TikTok trend, but apparently not. I'm still kind of working the algorithm over on TikTok and getting used to that platform. But the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because that's what sparked the inspiration for this video. But I randomly came across another creator, her video, and you know how you see videos and it's like, oh, she's into the same thing that I'm doing. I'm into this too. So the next time, I was in Lowe's, I was like, I'm just going to recreate a similar video. So the video that I'm referring to is the one where I went to go pick up some masking paper or builder's paper. I personally call it craft paper. And I was just sharing that I use it for sewing supplies. And the more that it started to be reshared and generate conversations underneath that video, I was like, oh, maybe this isn't something as common as I thought it was, and maybe this isn't a TikTok trend. So I share all that to say, I'm not the originator of this idea. It was just something that I seen. Somebody shared her experience at a different hardware store, and I was like, oh, the next time I'm in Lowe's, I'm just going to share this with you all. But I'm saying all of this to say that I'm saying Lowe's, but you can get most of this stuff that I'm sharing at any local hardware store or even a craft store. But so you all know, my creative crew, I'm mainly going to be saying Lowe's because now I'm a Lowe's creator and I get a little bit of a kickback from some of the things that I'm going to be sharing if you choose to shop the things that are in my storefront. So, this goes back into supporting the things that I do here on this channel. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get into the list of construction supplies that you can also use as sewing supplies. So the first thing is, like I said, the masking paper. Masking paper, builder's paper, craft paper, whatever you want to call it. You typically see this paper used when somebody is getting home renovations. They typically put this down so that way you don't get residue on your furniture or just things around your house as the renovation is taking place. Usually they use like some sort of plastic or this paper. I personally use this paper so that way I can trace my patterns. I've mentioned this before here on my channel that I'm someone, I prefer to trace my patterns. It is such a privilege and like a little luxury of mine that I get to come across my mom's pattern stash and I still get to work with patterns that are in good condition because she didn't cut into them, or she didn't you know, damage them or anything. And I like that I'm still able to work with them. And so I'm just thinking of, like, if I do have a daughter later on down the line, or if a friend or a family member wants to use one of my patterns later on down the line, I want to be able to give them the same gift that was gifted to me, of being able to work with something that is still in good condition, or somewhat good condition, so that way they can have, you know, a good experience with it, and they don't have to like piece together different parts of their project. So some of the patterns that I don't have duplicates of, or I think are rare patterns, I will trace them. And if I can't get a hold of your traditional tracing paper, I will use this craft paper to trace out my patterns. And I figured I would gather up all the just information that people were just, you know, graciously sharing under that TikTok post, and just share some of the things that really stood out to me in this video, because some of the things I was just like, oh, I never would have thought of that. I never would have done that. So I'm telling you here, so that way you don't have to go digging through TikTok. Over time, people are still like just sharing just some really good information. So you can go check that video out as well over there, just for the comments sake, if you want to. But yeah, some people are even sharing that they use this paper, even if they have a small business, they will use that to package up some of their goods, instead of like ordering from your typical like Uline or wherever people get, you know, their supplies for their small business. Some people would just go get this paper to package up and ship out their items using this paper. Some people have even mentioned that they use this paper primarily around the holidays, so that way they can customize their own wrapping paper instead of going out and getting the traditional holiday paper. A lot of people use this paper to wrap gifts. And I've even come across some really fun ideas over on Pinterest on ways that you can kind of decorate this paper and customize it and make it your own. If you're a crafty type of person, you really appreciate this type of stuff. So you can definitely go down the rabbit hole of just different ways you can repurpose this paper. Something else someone shared, and depending on how long you've been sewing, you've probably heard of this as well, but if you are a beginner sewer like myself, a lot of people use washers, flat washers, the heavyweight washers. They use that as pattern weights or fabric weights as they are sewing. I've seen people decorate these washers with ribbon, scrap fabric, or whatever they have to just kind of, you know, add their own personal touch to it. But I thought that that was also a neat idea, especially if you don't want to make pattern weights, or if you don't want to go out and buy pattern weights. Using washers, they're typically like $1, 50 cents. It's a really inexpensive tool that you can get from your local hardware store and use it. And I think that you can definitely, it would be helpful if you're cutting out patterns, so that way the paper doesn't shift around, or even if you're working with fabric so it doesn't roll off the table, you can definitely use washers to just kind of weigh your things down, so that way it doesn't shift within the process. Something else that someone mentioned in the comments was using zip ties as boning, and I was like, wow, like, are you kidding me? Zip ties, the wide zip ties. And it never even crossed my mind that zip ties are made out of the same material. And this really just like blew my mind, because I'm actually in the process of making like a bustier or a corset, and I did not think to use zip ties. I'm actually using like the metal boning, but using zip ties would have been so much easier to use, you know, within my garment. And yeah, that's an option as well. You can use zip ties as boning. I think it's made out of nylon. I'm not 100% certain, but there's all different types of boning. There's metal boning, there's boning that comes with casing, with a casing on it already, and then there's like your, I think, plastic or nylon boning. Zip ties, you can use that as an option as well. Then that got me to thinking, like, okay, what else does Lowe's have here that you can kind of use as, you know, sewing supplies, like construction supplies that can be used as sewing supplies. And I came across, they have grommets. They have grommets at Lowe's, and even like different tools like D-rings or like metal rings. I've seen a lot of different people incorporate, you know, those metal hardware pieces into like swimsuits or dresses, or even using it as like a belt for like different buckles, and rewrapping certain metals to just incorporate into your sewing project. There are a bunch of different tools that you can use in your sewing projects, and if you are willing to just get creative and just, you know, rethink the way you would traditionally use like a tool, and thinking about how can you incorporate it into an outfit, you will be amazed at, you know, how many supplies that are actually inside of a hardware store that you can utilize within your sewing projects. I feel like just going down this rabbit hole, I was just like, is Lowe's really a construction store, or is it just a different type of sewing store? Okay, they need just a dedicated craft section. I'm just saying. This next tool, you all have heard me talk about this, I don't know how many times here on this channel, but pegboards. Absolutely love my pegboards that I have inside of my office. I have two of them. I have one for my camera gear, my charging supplies, and then I also have one that's behind me. I have all my sewing supplies on that, and it makes it really convenient for me to just kind of get to the tools when I need them. I'm a convenience type of gal, and I was like, yeah, this video, I need to roll this video out, because I know that there are some folks where, you know, a craft store may not be as convenient as like a hardware store. And if you can get to a hardware store to just kind of get those little odd end supplies to finish off your sewing project, why not? Why not? And I absolutely love the pegboards that I have, mainly because like I said, I'm a convenience type of gal, and I don't want to have to depend on just going to one particular store to get a certain accessory replacement if I need it. I know I've seen people use IKEA pegboards, which I think are really cute, but I just think for convenience sake and just like longevity, like I just prefer to have your typical pegboard. Also, the pegboard that I have, it's metal, so if you work with magnets and you like to just like pop post-it notes up onto your workspace as like a reminder, you can utilize that for that purpose. But yeah, y'all, don't sleep on your construction store or your hardware store for sewing supplies. There's a bunch of different things that you can use inside of there. And fun fact, I actually have a swing that I made that's inside of my office right now. You all are probably like, girl, what? Why? One day I was feeling like Brenda the Builder. I have no idea why. I've never stained wood before this project. I've never worked with wood before this project. Literally the only thing I knew how to do was make pillows. I also made the pillows for this swing that's inside of my office. It was just that, I think I still have that video up here on my channel, but I was randomly out and about. I found a bench that somebody was like putting on the side of the road. I took it home and repurposed it and turned it into a bench. And so it's projects like that, random projects like that, that I would like to share with you all. When I do have that, you know, spurt of the moment, I can build and make anything type of thing, I want to share that with you all. And also wanted to share that I'm a Lowe's creator. So if you're ever out and about and you are thinking about shopping and Lowe's, you're going there, consider shopping my storefront first and seeing what I have in there. You can do curbside pickup. You can order online and pick it up directly at the store. Or if you're like, I don't even want to go into the store, you can have it shipped directly to your house. But I'm saying all that to say, consider shopping my storefront before you go inside of your hardware store. So yeah, that's all I want to share with you all. I do have another home renovation or apartment upgrade going on, and I'll be sharing that with you all. So just so that way my creative crew knows this isn't just a random video. I'm just giving you all a peek into the other projects and things that I have going on. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you all in my next video. Bye.